Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and it is that time in the year again. My biannual Recurrent simulator is coming up, and as always I am using the Phoenix Airbus just to revise a couple of procedures and stuff, and I definitely want to share that with you guys. So, just a quick reminder at the beginning of the video, I do fly the Airbus A330 and obviously the A320 family is a little different, and because it does come up every time and again, yes, I am trained to fly a multi-million-dollar airplane in a multi-crew environment. That is not the same as operating a simulator on a home computer in a completely different environment. So, if some things go a little different than they would in the real world, then that is obviously down to simulator limitations over here at home, and the fact that this Phoenix Airbus is an A321 and not an A330. Nonetheless, I think there is a lot that we can gain from flying the Phoenix Airbus and, you know, just doing your standard engine fire failure and stuff like that with it in preparation for the sim, just to get into the mood again and to rehearse a couple of the procedures before going into the actual training. Okay, so let's go over what we are about to do over here. We're standing in Athens on runway 03 right, and we have planned the Kilo Oscar Romeo 1 Echo departure, which goes straight ahead and then a right-hand turn across the field and over to our fix. Now, I can already assure you that we are not really going to be flying that because something will happen, so let's have a look at the engine out procedure should it become relevant. And the engine out procedure for this one is a fairly straightforward thing. So, looking into the secondary flight plan, here it is. We go straight ahead to 80 from Sierra Alpha Tango, and then it is a right-hand turn to intercept the radial 340 inbound to the VOR and hold at 15 miles inbound, which is what we have calculated here using the secondary flight plan. Now, if you're wondering how I did this, it's actually quite easy. So the first thing, you go to the fixed info page. Over here we can enter the ADME and then create a waypoint from that. That waypoint you can enter in the secondary flight plan, which is the D008 Sierra Alpha Tango, which I made an overfly point since the engine outset tells us to fly to ADME and then make a right-hand turn. And then we're intercepting the radial 340 inbound to the VOR, and for that I created an intercept point, which I basically created from that station on a 090 bearing, and then from that VOR on the 340 bearing. And that's how I created the intercept point, and then a place distance point behind that in order to create the holding at 15 miles. Now, thereafter we have an automatic return for the ILS approach runway 03 right here in Athens. And that's our engine outset. For the takeoff we got speeds 153, 160, 160, and the green dot speed is 221. Alright, I think with that we have discussed all the basics of what we are going to do, so let's go ahead and get right into this one and see how it is gonna go. Alright, so the park and brake is released. Let's quickly put that one away as well, and with that we are basically ready to go. So 3, 2, 1, let's get going. Takeoff. Timing. Cabin's ready anyway. Manflex 57 SRS runway auto thrust blue. Thrust set. .100 knots checked. V1, engine failure, rotate, toga, positive climb, gear up, Alright, let's trim it out. A little bit of trim to the left here. And here we go, looking good. Autopilot 1, heading. Alright, so engine 2, fire. Alright, E-cam actions. So, thrust lever 2, idle. Confirm. Thrust lever 2, confirmed. Idle. Engine master 2, off. Confirm. Engine master 2, confirmed. Off. Alright, engine 2, fire push button, push. Confirm. Engine 2, fire push button, confirmed. Pushed. Okay, agent 1, after 7 seconds, discharge. Agent 1, discharge. Fire engine 2, agent 1, discharge. And here we go. Alright. ATC notify. Mayday, mayday, mayday. Aegean 28 Charlie. Engine failure. Proceeding straight at 8 miles. Right turn inbound Kilo Echo Alpha to hold. Okay, so that fire is still ongoing. So, if fire after 1 second, agent 2, discharge. So, that's the engine fire panel, engine 2, agent 2, discharge. And it looks like that's done something. Okay, engine secured. So, push to level off, activate secondary flight plan. And here's 8 DME, let's make it a right-hand turn. Flaps 1, speed checked, flaps 1. Okay, let's fly direct to the intercept point. Nav. Flaps 0. Speed checked. Flaps 0. Alright, here's green dot. Open climb. Thrust MCT. Okay. So, continue with that ECAM and let's stop the climb in 4000. Here we are. So, engine 2 shutdown. Engine mode selector, ignition. Engine mode selector, ignition. If no fuel leak, imbalance monitor. Let's have a quick look down here. And for now, that looks quite good. So, imbalance monitor, TCAS mode selector, TA, and avoid icing conditions. Clear engine 2. Clear engine 2. So, engine 2 failed. If no damage, engine 2 relight, consider. Well, we have damage because we had a fire on that engine. Clear engine 2. Clear engine 2. Air pack 1 off. Okay, that's because we did a packs off takeoff. Here we go, pack 1 is coming on. And then we got land ASAP in amber. Okay, air bleed, and that's the right hand side off. Clear bleed. Clear bleed. So, ELEC, generator 2 is off, 1 has taken over. Clear ELEC. Clear ELEC, and hydraulics, engine 2 pump is off. PTU is taken over. Clear hydraulics. Clear hydraulics. Status. Okay, stop ECAM. Alright, so let's take a second here. We're not gonna restart the engines. No resets or anything applicable over here, so let's continue with the status. Avoid icing conditions. If severe ice accretion, minimum speed VLS plus 10 or green dot, maneuver with care. Landing distance procedure apply, and if no engine 2 damage, consider engine 2 relight, Cat 3 single only. Inoperative systems, wing anti-ice, Cat 3 dual, engine 2 bleed, pack 2, main galley, generator 2, yellow engine 2 pump. Remove status? Remove status. Ecam actions complete. Okay, then let's start the APU. And then let's go ahead and take a moment to think about what we are going to do. So with that failure, we are not continuing on to the destination, that's pretty clear. So what threats do we have for the approach? We are going to be faster than usual, we will have degraded go-around performance. Hey, why is it increasing our speed? No, don't do that. Here we go. Keep the present speed, please. Look at that, set hold speed. Yeah, surprise. But why is that 240? No, we don't need 240. Let's do 230, then we have a bit of margin here. Okay, so for the threats, yeah, a little bit longer landing distance and degraded go-around performance. And that's pretty much it. Our landing weight, 73.4. And just to verify, the max landing weight is 77.8 on the A321. So we are below the max landing weight. Now, let's continue into the foredeck. So that's our facts. What options do we have? Well, continue to Athens, or we do have other airports in the area, but honestly, this is basically always the case in the simulator. You always know that you're returning to the departure airport. It basically doesn't happen that you go elsewhere. So, the same is kind of applicable today. So, let's just say Athens, longest runway, best weather, and we do have maintenance available and facilities for our passengers, so that pretty much sounds like we are definitely going to go to Athens. Apart from that, we do have things like all those Greek islands, but they all have shorter runways and all that kind of stuff, so that's basically not even for us to consider. Okay, so the decision is made to return to Athens. Then let's go ahead and start the setup. You have control. And 03 right is already in here. Let's start with a bit of a calculation. So, landing, and that is of course no longer current. We are going back to Athens, 03. Engines, all engines failure. Okay, well, things just got more interesting. Emergency elect power, manual on. Oh, that's the wrong one. Oh god, A320, where is it? Here it is, huh? Okay, so we are in 4,000. Got a couple hills on the way. 13 miles. Nope, can't make that. Let's see if we can restart that engine. So, optimum relight speed 300 or 0.77. Thrust lever, idle. Idle. Gliding distance 2 miles per 1,000 feet. And diversion initiate. All engine failure procedure apply. Okay, so start switch is continuous. Let's turn that APU bleed on. And then engine number 1. Start. Nope, we're not gonna make it across those mountains. We gotta have to choose the sea.
$2,500.
No chance to return to the airport.
2,000.
But that engine is looking good. Do we have thrust? Yes, we do. Okay. So, out of the water, please. Setting 360. Climb 4,000. Autopilot on. So, thrust MCT, open climb heading. And we are looking for green dot. Like this. Okay, engine 2 shutdown. We had that stupid thing. But there is some new stuff in there. But first of all, let's turn that APU bleed back off again. Okay, so let's go for the ECAM action. Well, and all that stuff is gone. Okay, engine 2 shutdown if no fuel leak, imbalance monitor, avoid icing conditions. We've done that. And the rest is the same stuff that we had earlier. Okay, so let's remove all of that for now. And then we can go right back into the approach preparation. But let's get closer to the airport. Just gotta get above those hills. So let's return to our holding position. Just to gain altitude. And once we got that, we will straight away return to the airport. Just gonna make sure that we are going to get above the mountains here. Okay. So then let's go right back down here. Athens 3 right, dry, refresh and apply the METAR. Landing weight is 73 tons. Oh shit. This time we are not going to lose that much speed. Okay, the restart worked once, let's try that again. Want to lever off, then on. Some reason that seems to happen every time I'm looking to the EFB. This is not planned, by the way. Only the failure of number 2 was planned. Okay, let's see. That engine is coming back. That is freaking weird. Why is it doing this? Okay, the autopilot is not coming back on. That's always something new. Okay, we'll put the APU bleed off. Let's shut that cross-bleed valve here. Then we can keep the APU bleed on. That way, in case something happens again, should be able to help ourselves. So, those mountains are in between us and the airport. Let's see, give me that terrain display. How are you gonna get around those? Looks like we gotta be flying about heading 190. And the autopilot's coming back on as well. I like it. Okay, so clear that engine 2 again. This time I'm not gonna touch the EFB again. At least not that page. Let's see, give me the approaches, runway 03 right, which is our planned runway. Here we go, 3 right, final approach. And that's a minimum of 471. So, 1011. (230) at 428. Okay, in the A330 you can only do a config 3 landing with an engine failure. For that reason I'm gonna do config 3 in here. Just a little note though, on the A321 you can actually do full. So in the real world you would obviously consider that. I'm gonna go for the other option though, because purely the A330 is different there. Okay, so right heading 220. Let's go into that general approach direction. Okay, then we've basically got everything here. Let's use auto brakes low, and all the rest is already set. You should be in captain. Okay. Then let's go for the approach briefing, please. And you can clear up the FMS. So, Charlie India, radial in, looks good. Insert. Full heading. Heading. Alright, speed alt star. And then let's go ahead and go for the approach briefing. So it's radar vector, ILS approach, runway 03 right, and that thing is going to happen with an engine out, down to a minimum of 471, and the go-around situation is the engine out sits, so straight at 80 Sierra Alpha Tango, right turn, 340 radial, inbound, Kilo Echo Alpha, climbing 4000, and then we decide on the further course of action. Engine 1 seems to be a little unreliable as well, so whatever happened to number 2 seems to have an effect on number 1 as well. So we're better not gonna fly out much further than we absolutely have to. Alright, and talking about it, let's turn right heading 250. Actually 260 works as well, 270. Okay, that's that. Extra fuel and time, we do happen to have plenty. Namely, an hour and 32 minutes. Alright, so this is going to be an approach using the flight rector for guidance and the flaps in config 3, maximum reverse, auto brake low, stop margin is 1 kilometer, and we are going to stop on the runway and remain there. Specials for the approach are going to be the degraded go-around performance and the reset of the rudder trim on the short final. For that, I do have a button assigned on my hardware, so I am going to do it, but since there is a bit of a difference between how that works in the simulator and in the real world, namely in the real aircraft, the rudder pedals get trimmed to hold in a certain position. What you see over here, yeah, you do see that a little bit. However, would be quite a bit stronger in the real world. Nonetheless, that's what we got for this. So in the sim, the pedals return to neutral and then we have to reapply rudder. So that's a little different from the real world. Apart from that, non-standard go-around case is going to be used all standard, and that's it. Any questions? No? Fantastic. Then let's go ahead and turn on LS. Let's descend to 3000. And that's that. Hello?
The cabin is now secure for landing.
Thank you. Okay, so we got that stuff. And that's basically all it. So, right heading 310. Like this. Okay, flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. So, status, minimum rad speed 140, avoid icing conditions, minimum speed and icing won't apply for us today, maneuver with care, landing distance procedure apply. I don't want to touch the EFB again because I'm afraid that that's going to cause the failure of engine number 1 once again. Okay, and the rest is all understood. Okay, remove status. Here we go, approach checklist please. So, Baueref, QNH 1011, seatbelts on, minimum, Baro 471, auto brake, low, engine mode selector, ignition, approach checklist complete. Alright, then let's turn right, and that's going to be 360 to intercept the ILS. So, Cat 3 single, autopilot 1 and 2, lock star, glass lip blue. Alright, let's do some manual stuff here. And then we're also gonna go manual thrust. Because every thrust change is going to make the airplane go a little bit left and right. Because we do of course have asymmetric thrust here. Lock. And therefore I prefer to use manual thrust in case of an engine out. Okay, flaps 2. Speed check, flaps 2. Did you see how the plane went to the left when I just reduced thrust a little bit? That's exactly what I meant. And I'd rather want to know when that's gonna come than be surprised by it. Okay, gear down. Blast up star. 4,000 feet for the go around. Flaps 3. Speed check, flaps 3. And you can see I'm flying the plane in a way. We're not going to idle thrust here. I'm simply bleeding that speed off slowly. And maintain a certain thrust setting. That just makes it all a bit easier. The speed is still coming back slowly. We're going to be nicely stabilized here.
2,500.
Checked. Now that one's interesting. Fuel on board below 3 tons, but we're actually showing 3,900. Well, no comment on that for now. And you can see now that we added a bit of thrust. Plane is once again drifting a little different here. All good though, all easy. Let's add 5 knots to the V approach. Here we go. That's not the real 1,000 just yet. The field is in some 200 feet. But neat little mountain that we're flying over. And of course that thing has its effect. Now we just gotta be a little careful not to reduce the thrust too far, because I'm fairly sure that we are going to leave that updraft from the hill momentarily, and that is gonna result in a drop of our airspeed. Okay, reset the trim. And you could immediately feel that as well. Yeah, landing checklist, ECA memo, landing no blue, landing checklist complete. Would of course have done that earlier, but better late than never.
300.
Land.
100 above. 200. Minimum.
Continue.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 5.
Spoilers, reverse green. Decel. $70 knots. Manual brakes. Alright. Airplane stopped, park and brake on, and that's gonna be the end of the exercise. So guys, that was an interesting one. Definitely some standard stuff happening at first, but then the dual engine failures were absolutely not planned. I had not prepared those, not armed the failures. I mean, let me just quickly show you what I had armed. So we had the fire protection. Actually, let's just do it this way. Well, probably gonna go into fail now. Where we have an engine 2 failure. And then we also had the fire protection. 2 fire bottles on engine number 2. That one was armed as well. And that was the entire scenario. The dual engine failure is absolutely not planned, but that kind of added a bit of a startle effect there, and we had to basically go into the all engine failure procedure as ordered by the ECAM. However, didn't have that one readily available, and we were at such a low altitude that I improvised there by turning on the APU bleed to assist the starter and then just restart the engine straight away. Now, I do happen to know the cause of the failure, and that was my wing throttle, which has some sort of misconfiguration and sometimes turns an engine master switch off when it is absolutely not supposed to. You've seen that in a couple of my A320 videos over the past couple of months. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna fix that one after this scenario, because I'm definitely not up to that once again. In any case, that was a very interesting scenario. I do hope you guys liked it as well. The airplane's on the ground, and except for that one engine, can probably even be used again. So that's all we can ask for. Thanks very much for watching, guys. As always, like, comment and subscribe. And if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.